Welcome to the Late Night Hoops Talk Show. My name is Arthur Pooh for Spark Sports. A big night on Thursday with the NBA Draft.
With the first pick in the 2018 NBA Draft, the Phoenix Suns select.
Of course, a new beginning for 60 new players entering the league and much, much more. The number one overall selection, DeAndre Ayton, going to the Phoenix Suns. He kind of did it all. I think the biggest news for that one is his pairing with Devin Booker, with Josh Jackson. Had a very promising rookie campaign. But of course, the Suns have also had busts. Alex Len, Dragan Bender, and Marquise Chris. With DeAndre Ayton, that definitely fits a void that Phoenix has been lacking for the last few seasons. He's an effective shooter and an excellent finisher and a tenacious rebounder, which the Phoenix Suns definitely needed over these last few seasons because, their depth hasn't really been cutting it. He gets to learn under Tyson Chandler, who's one of the best veterans probably to learn from, and an NBA champion. Can't forget about that. Another underrated move that the Suns made was by acquiring Mikal Bridges, who played at Villanova. He averaged 17.7 points per game and shot 40% from three. So definitely a great pickup. Now let's move on to number 2, Sacramento Kings. They selected Marvin Bagley from Duke University. I like this pick. I know a lot of people don't really like this pick as much, but this is kind of a safe pick because he has a lot of upside. The Kings also have a roster full of young talent and potential. They got De'Aaron Fox last year. They got Buddy Hield the year before through a trade. I kind of consider him to be kind of like a Giannis kind of size, very lanky, of course, when he first came into the league. He needs to work on his size because he's 6'11". He's going to go up against a lot of power forwards and centers who are way bigger and way stronger than he is. But if he definitely makes that transformation on his body, he can go really far. A very solid scorer himself, 21 points per game and 11 rebounds per game in his freshman season at Duke. Also be an extremely versatile defender with his size. Not a lot of, forwards, they don't really have that size. 6'11", who can run the floor, insanely long wingspan. This is also a very safe pick because the Kings have just been in the cellar, especially for the Western Conference, for so long. The Kings have the longest playoff drought in the NBA right now. I see you, Timberwolves, finally getting that playoff victory to this year. If they really want to get out of the cellar, they got to do something, and Bagley's a great pick to start off with. Now we move to 3, and with 3, things kind of got interesting. Luka Doncic got selected, but then was traded for Trae Young in a move between the Mavericks and the Hawks. But let's talk about the Mavs first. This is a great pick, I think, by the Mavericks. They get another international prospect to pair up with Dirk. And for Doncic, a lot of people have said that he's the best player in this draft. It's also kind of an interesting pick because originally at the 5 spot, the Mavericks had options like, Mo Bamba to pick, but there are some rumors that the Mavs might be chasing after DeMarcus Cousins. They kind of played it safe and was like, hey, you know what, we'll go with a wing to pair up with Dennis Smith Jr. and also Harrison Barnes, which is a great call because Doncic is also a very big playmaker. He ran the point with a 6'8" frame that, he can be basically a point forward for this team. He's also a very good spot up shooter, can kind of create his own shot, a very transcendent passer, very strong playmaker especially with that 6'8" frame. Now moving on to number 5, Trae Young. He goes in that deal to the Hawks. And this is kind of an interesting one too because the Hawks already had Dennis Schroeder, but yet you bring Trae Young into the picture. So at the same time, the Hawks, they are in such a desperate need for a franchise cornerstone, and Trae Young can be that man. Yes, Trae Young has that superstar potential. He's a perfect guy. The Hawks need someone to put up points, and they just need talent in general. They have a lot of D2, G League players. Because the Hawks haven't been in the lottery for quite a while now. And this is, I think, one of their first and only picks in the lottery in the last decade. Trae Young has a lot of potential to be a Steph Curry-like player, but he also has the potential to become a Seth Curry-like player. So very fringe pick, but I definitely see the upside for Trae Young in this one. Of course, he's a known offensive playmaker and also an offensive scorer. 27.4 points per game to lead the NCAA last year and 8.7 assists per game to lead the NCAA. Those are extraordinary numbers. But yes, the Hawks know what they're getting. Franchise cornerstone, a offensive playmaker and scorer. Now that also brings the question to, where does Dennis Schroeder go? Yeah, Dennis Schroeder is 24, 25, yet to enter his prime, but he's also showed a lot of potential to be a solid starting point guard for any system, really. Great scorer, great slasher, gets to the rim. I can definitely see him going to a contending team, Cleveland, or to maybe try and keep LeBron James. But definitely Dennis Schroeder on the market might be interesting. Of course, it's not confirmed yet, but this Trae Young move and the speculation behind that might change some things. Now, the biggest story in the draft. Who would have guessed Michael Porter Jr. falls to 14? Yes, 14. Just got into the lottery to the Denver Nuggets. That just shows a lot of concerns about his health. Only playing 3 games in his lone season at Mizzou. But I think at number 14, it's a great pickup by the Nuggets. They got number 1-esque talent at 14, because Porter was speculated to be one of the top players in this draft. But then the injury happened, with the inflammation. It caused a lot of, small tears in his back, allowed, spine lubrication to leak out of his back. Kind of sounds nasty, to be honest, but that kind of delayed the process a little bit. Of course, that's the biggest concern going forward, especially with Porter, is he missed a few workouts because of a sore hip. But I think it's a perfect place for Porter Jr. to fall to. Denver already has some stars like Jokic and Millsap, but also some budding young stars like the Gary Harrises and the Jamal Murrays. So he can definitely fit in that window. And the Nuggets, they were very, very short, just this short from being in the playoffs last season. So, with Porter, they definitely needed a wing. The Nuggets definitely needed a sweet shooting wing. Porter definitely fits that window for compete now if he's able to stay healthy, but also compete in the future with the likes of Murray and Harris. Now, moving number 7. Originally, I had in my mock draft the Bulls taking Michael Porter Jr. at that spot, and a lot of people were talking about, Porter might go to Chicago. Wendell Carter Jr., a very solid pick for the Bulls at number 7. And looking at this Bulls team, who would have expected them to have a lot of young talent, like great young talent? Chris Dunn blew up. Zach LaVine played really well coming back from injury. Bobby Portis also had a pretty solid season too. Who would have guessed? Lauri Markkanen. Yes. I love Markkanen. That's the new nickname. The guy who was really the centerpiece for the Bulls' return in the Jimmy Butler trade just a year ago would be the pick that panned out for them. The Bulls definitely have a lot of upside, and they got a lot of production out of these 4 young guys. But adding Wendell Carter Jr., a big athletic forward who can shoot, create his own shot. He shot 41.3% from the three as a big. So he can definitely play with Lauri Markkanen, which will be a very, very fun thing to watch next season, because Markkanen himself can shoot really well. Having that little big man rotation who can shoot, stretch the floor and play high IQ basketball. That's going to be fun to watch for this young Bulls team. With all these picks, of course, focusing mainly on the lottery, there are 3 things that we can take away from this 2018 NBA draft. So the first one is you cannot stop the Woj bombs. Now, this is the funny part, because the NBA tried to prevent spoilers from picks being announced on Twitter or social media prior to it being announced on television on the broadcast. But Woj took it a sneaky way on the very own network that he works for now. Kind of flashed that little thesaurus usage and a lot of different synonyms for selected words like are very interested in or focused on. Very interesting. I learned a lot of new words. Cannot stop Woj bombs. Ever. So lesson number 2, you can have a great week. Just ask Puma. Puma, of course, went all out. I mean, like all out this week with a lot of the NBA draft prospects, of course, they got the number 1s and the number 2 picks in their belt. Also, the very interesting thing about Puma Hoops is they haven't really had a star player market their brand in terms of basketball since Walt Clyde, whatever his name is, Frazier, who's currently doing a lot of broadcast stuff for the Knicks. But now having, fresh faces, new faces that are coming into this league, that's a great start of, what could be a long partnership for Puma and these athletes. Rudy Gay to be the first active NBA player to sign with Puma prior to the draft. Puma's really going out there. They're going all out. They're pushing all their chips onto the table with this move, and they're really showing that they can be more than just a soccer brand or I think they did Formula One racing. But yeah, they're putting all their chips in the table and be like, hey, we can do basketball too. So watch out, world. And of course, the final takeaway from the 2018 NBA draft, it was kind of quiet. Surprisingly, no big trades happened. Of course, a lot of speculation beforehand about Kawhi Leonard. That's just been eating up the media storm. No big trades happened. Last year, Jimmy Butler's trade really highlighted the NBA draft, with Lauri Markkanen going to the Bulls in exchange for Jimmy Butler. Chris Dunn, of course, also included that deal, but no big trades. Maybe the biggest one was just the swap of Luka Doncic for Trae Young. That was it. Every NBA player that was on an active roster woke up and stayed on the same roster. Very quiet on not just the Western front, but also the Eastern front. We're definitely expecting a huge, crazy, hectic, I don't know what other synonyms, Woj, I'm going to tweet you out. We're going to expect an insane offseason. So that might just be waiting, pushing all the drama there. Despite, all the quiet drama going on right now. Maybe, but we'll see. So that will do it for our very first late night hoops talk show here on Spark Sports. My name is Arthur Poo. Thanks for joining us, and leave some comments below. I want to see what you guys think about the NBA draft. Who got the steal of the draft? Who's the biggest winner? Will Puma overtake Adidas or Nike? Leave it all in the comments. Check us out at Spark_sports. And also check out my account at SparkArthur. All right, we'll catch you next episode.